Are you on the left or are you on the right? It's important to know what these words mean, so we're going to have Merriam Webster define our political vocabulary in America. But should we even trust them to define these words, seeing as how they changed the definition of vaccine from administered to produce or artificially increase immunity to a particular disease to administered to stimulate the body's immune response to a specific disease? During 2021, when people were questioning if getting the jab would make them immune from getting COVID. Before we begin defining things, I want to give you a reference point with the help of this website. I went to the Political Compass and took their test, answering it honestly, and it put me in the libertarian quadrant. They use current and historical political figures to give examples of the certain viewpoints, but their placement of course could be debated and perhaps even show bias. Go to politicalcompass.org and take their test, then come back and comment below if you think it's an accurate reading of your political views. Now, let's begin. Authoritarian, libertarian, the social spectrum, and left-wing, right-wing, which is generally the economic spectrum. Authoritarian is favoring blind submission to authority, favoring a concentration of power in a leader or an elite not constitutionally responsible to the people. A libertarian is an advocate of the doctrine of free will, a person who upholds the principles of individual liberty, especially of thought and action. Left-wing refers to the leftist division of a group, such as a political party. Those professing views usually characterized by desire to reform or overthrow the established order, especially in politics, and usually advocating change in the name of the greater freedom or well-being of the common man. And it is a radical as distinguished from a conservative position, meaning it's the opposite of a conservative. Just so you know that left-wing means liberal, the far left, the group of people whose political views are the most liberal. Right-wing, the rightist division of a group or party. Individuals professing support of the established order and favoring traditional attitudes and practices and conservative governmental policies. So you know that right-wing can also mean conservative. The far right is the group of people whose political views are the most conservative. Now, what does liberal and conservative even mean? What are the differences? So liberal means constituting a political party advocating or associated with the principles of political liberalism, one who's open-minded or not strict in observance of traditional established forms or ways, and an advocate or adherent of liberalism, especially in individual rights. So what is liberalism? A theory in economics emphasizing individual freedom from restraint and usually based on free competition, the self-regulating market, and the gold standard. A political philosophy based on belief in progress, the essential goodness of the human race, and the autonomy of the individual in standing for the protection of political and civil liberties. Such a philosophy that considers government as a crucial instrument for amelioration of social inequalities, such as those involving race, gender, or class. 2b is why people argue that classical liberalism is right-wing libertarian in economics. So what's a conservative? Of or constituting a political party professing the principles of conservatism, tending or disposed to maintain existing views, conditions, or institutions. Traditional. An adherent or advocate of political conservatism, one who adheres to traditional methods or views. Conservatism is disposition in politics to preserve what is established, a political philosophy based on tradition and social stability, stressing established institutions and preferring gradual development to abrupt change, such as a philosophy calling for lower taxes, limited government regulation of business and investing, a strong national defense, and individual financial responsibility for personal needs, such as retirement income or healthcare coverage. The tendency to prefer an existing or traditional situation to change. So we have blind submission to authority, free will, radical change in the name of the greater good, slow, cautious change favoring traditional institutions, authoritarian, libertarian, liberal, conservative. What if you're neither of those things? Then you're a centrist, a person who holds moderate views. Now let's define the political parties in the United States. We have independents, which basically means they're not bound to a political party. A Democrat is an adherent of democracy, one who practices social equality. And a democracy is a government by the people, rule of the majority, government in which the supreme power is invested in the people and exercise them directly or indirectly through a system of representation usually involving periodically held free elections. The common people, especially one constituting the source of political authority. The absence of hereditary or arbitrary class distinctions or privileges. A Republican is one that favors a Republican form of government. They define Democratic Republican as constituting one of the two major political parties evolving in the U.S. in the mid-19th century that is usually primarily associated with business, financial, and some agricultural interest and is held to favor a restricted government role in economic life. That's 2B, a Democratic Republican Party or the Republican Party of the U.S. So that's the detailed definition of Republican there. A republic is a government having a chief of state who is not a monarch and who in modern times is usually a president. A government in which supreme power resides in a body of citizens entitled to vote and is exercised by elected officers and representatives responsible to them and governing according to law. I'll just put them at the top here. Generally, Democrats are left-wing, independents kind of in the middle, whatever, and then you've got Republicans who are generally on the right. Now we're going to run through these political political and economic systems. Anarchy, absence of government, state of lawlessness or political order due to the absence of governmental authority, or a utopian society of individuals who enjoy complete freedom without government. Capitalism, an economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods, by investments that are determined by private decision and by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in a free market. A free market is an economy operating by free competition. Crony capitalism is an economic system in which individuals and businesses with political connections and influence are favored, as through tax breaks, grants, and other forms of government assistance, in ways seen as suppressing open competition in a free market. Kleptocracy is a government by those who seek chiefly status and personal gain at the expense of the governed. A plutocracy is a government by the wealthy. Socialism is any of various economic and political theories advocating collective or governmental ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. A system of society or group living in which there is no private property. A system or condition of society in which the means of production are owned and controlled by the state. A stage of society in Marxist theory transitional between capitalism and communism, and distinguished by unequal distribution of goods and pay according to work done. Social democracy, a political movement advocating a gradual and peaceful transition from capitalism to socialism by democratic means. A democratic welfare state that incorporates both capitalist and socialist practices. Marxism, the political, economic, and social principles and policies advocated by Karl Marx. A theory and practice of socialism, including the labor theory of value, dialectical materialism, the class struggle, and dictatorship of the proletariat, the working class, until the establishment of a classless society.
Taking my tax dollars and redistributing it into your pocket. That's Marxism there, Red.
Communism, a system in which goods are owned in common and are available to all as needed. A theory advocating elimination of private property. A doctrine based on revolutionary Marxian socialism and Marxian-Leninism that was the official ideology of the Soviet Union. A totalitarian system of government in which a single authoritarian party controls state-owned means of production. A final stage of society in Marxist theory in which the state has withered away and economic goods are distributed equitably.
Karl Marx, the founder of modern socialism and author of the Communist Manifesto. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, better known to the world as Lenin, leader of the Russian Revolution, writer, statesman, and father of modern socialism. Che Guevara, the Bolivian guerrilla leader. And Mao Zedong, chairman of the Chinese Communist Party since 1949.
Fascism is a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. A tendency toward or actual exercise of a strong autocratic or dictatorial control. I heard Gerald Celente on the Alex Jones show recently say that, per Mussolini, fascism is the merger of state and corporate powers. Autocracy, the authority or rule of an autocrat, government in which one person possesses autonomy, the quality or state of being self-governed, self-directing freedom, and especially moral independence, a self-governing state. Per those definitions, that's where they all line up on the spectrum here. Well, that covers a lot of the main things. I might make a more in-depth video later, so let me know if you want to see more of this, or if it's totally out of line as it is. But anyway, here's a few compasses to leave you with. Yep, I'm a millennial, so that's where I am. Good job. Just barely, though. I'm riding that line. This isn't left-wing, right-wing, authoritarian, libertarian, but it is pretty accurate with the pro-establishment, anti-establishment. Rhino means Republican in name only. So basically, they're pseudo-Republicans. We've got this very detailed graph right here, which I think probably cracks it. So you look at the bottom, you've got all different types of anarchy, you know, and you can argue which one is better or not. And then at the top, you have strict control, the fascism, and then they're Marxist. I hate authoritarian, straight up. Gulag. God. Gays. Gold. Damn it. Why am I in that one too? Not cool. Not cool. Put me in the gold side. Put me on the gold side. Here's another detailed one. More or less the same as the other, so I think these are pretty accurate. I hope you learned something. If you disagree, please comment below and get the discussion going. I appreciate you watching the video. I appreciate you taking the time to comment and agreeing or disagreeing with me, even though I'm kind of mostly just reading definitions, so you might want to take it up with Merriam Webster. Deuces!